Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews and to another review video here on the channel. The scheduling for Overbooked continues to not particularly function, so we are squeezing in new release videos where we can. There's a pigeon cooing right outside the window, don't worry about it too much. Today I'm going to be talking about The Sword Unbound by Gareth Hanrahan. I don't have intro music, I don't know why I'm doing this. Some quick disclaimers before we start. Number one, I received this copy of this book for free from the publisher. All opinions, however, are my own. Nobody's paying me to talk about books except my patrons, and that's everything. I said that in the wrong order, but that's fine. Gonna keep it as spoiler-free as humanly possible for book 2. This is the big one. I already have a video up that is spoiler-free for book 1. You can go and watch that. I'm going to be talking to the very few people who are interested in the sequel to a relatively niche adult fantasy series. Hello to the 3 people who are going to stick around for this one. Or maybe you're just nosy, or maybe you just like to hear me talk. Whatever, it's fine, stay around. So yes, if you haven't already read The Sword Defiant, this will spoil the end of that for you, so bear that in mind. But I do have a video for Sword Defiant that you can go check out if you would like. I will link the story graph for the book down below in the description in case you want to check out any user-generated content warnings. I think that's everything for this one. I think those are all the disclaimers I want to make. Oh, my last disclaimer is that I haven't scripted this. I haven't got notes. This is going to be what I'm going to dub a rambling review, which either means it will be incredibly long with an awful lot of editing to sort my ums and ahs out, or it will be a nice, short and sweet, I don't have too much to say because this is a sequel to a niche series book. It's fine. This is the second book in the Lands of the Firstborn series. I believe there were only meant to be 2, but I don't know that for sure. And knowing Gareth Hanrahan, he could return to this world at any moment. This is the sequel. Sword Defiant, The Sword Unbound. This is an adult fantasy series. I would say it's very much swords and sorcery. It's very classic tabletop Dungeons and Dragons kind of setting. It is not drawing on that directly, but we have paladins, we have very much the sense of like these archetypal characters coming through. Our main character Alf is an archetypal barbarian in a lot of surface level ways. And Gareth Hanrahan, it is worth noting, is an author who does also write tabletop RPG systems. And it's obvious that that is inspiring what he's doing in this book. As many of you will know, I deeply hyperfixated on Dungeons & Dragons over the last 2 years, so I love this. Me 4 years ago would have not comprehended a lot of the subtleties of this book. Me present day, I'm here for it. I'm all here for it, give it to me now. So this is where you really need to stop watching if you don't want to be spoiled for the end of book 1, because I'm going to get into the plot. In this we are following the same characters as previously, with a couple of new point of view additions. We have Alf, who is our quintessential barbarian character. However, is he still a hero? Is his reputation being besmirched? Do people still like him, or is he now a traitor? Or all of this stuff. Fallout from book 1, classic. We have Ulva, his sister, who's dealing with the fact that her son has come back from the dead, maybe with a little bit of an extra being inside him. It's confusing and scary. And we also have Bor, yes, who we met in book 1, but I don't believe we got a perspective from, if memory serves. And he is almost the sort of, it's not a redemption arc storyline, but that's where it's kind of drawing inspiration from. We have Bor, he's there as well. And I think there are a couple of other quick point of views thrown in, but those are the main characters that we follow. And a lot of the beginning of the book is told non-linearly, which is interesting and very cool storytelling as it goes. I liked the structure of this book, I'll say that from the off. I thought that the way that it put things down and picked them up again and perspectives shifted for long periods of time, rather than doing the classic fantasy one chapter of each perspective, I thought that worked very well. It made for interesting reading. There was a lot of dramatic irony in that, which I love. And overall, I think it just meant that the book felt very solid. I'd be interested to go back and read book 1 and see if it does anything similar, or whether this feels very different, because I don't remember that being the case in book 1. Book 1 felt very, and then this happened, and then this happened. I guess there is the difference in Ulva's perspective versus Alf's in book 1, but I don't really felt like those two interacted that much, whereas this very much has perspectives that sort of stack onto each other, and things happen that affect things in other people's perspectives and so such. Yes, I appreciated the structure. I thought it was good. I also really liked the plot. I thought it wasn't as solid as book 1. I think this definitely has second book, not problems, but that thing about a second book where if you're invested in book 1, you'll like book 2, but book 2 doesn't necessarily stand on its own merit in the same way. However, I do think the plot is well worth reading. There's some fascinating twists and turns. I loved that we got to see more of the world, particularly outside of Necrad, this evil city. I loved meeting new people and seeing different perspectives, and I think that just was good. It's what I like in a second book. I like to broaden the world because there's the time to do that, because the character building doesn't have to happen quite so intensely. I think the biggest selling point of this book, though, is the themes, or are the themes? The selling points are the themes. I really love the way that Gareth Hanrahan plays with the idea of story and fabled characters and destiny and the creation of myth in the moment and the mythologizing of people. I really enjoy his take on that, particularly in this second book. I thought it was really fascinating and just enjoyable to do in a fantasy book, to play with the idea of the creation of heroic characters. It felt very meta and very aware of itself. And I think it manages to do it without going the full grimdark route of just being miserable all the time. So it definitely conveys the idea that what you hear in a fable or a story or a song is not going to be accurate, but it doesn't feel so completely grim and hopeless like a Joe Abercrombie character might do, which some people enjoy, but not me personally. So the characters still get to be heroic. There's just a kind of commentary on the stories being told about them in the moment and what gets spread about them. Do I think it's as strong as book one? No, I've already mentioned that. I still think it's really solid. I think it's a fantastic fantasy read. I think book one just is a more interesting concept, and I think because book one is it's not high concept, but quite like strong in its conception of the idea of these 9 heroes after the fact. This felt a little bit more loosey-goosey, and it felt a bit more like, here's an additional story in this world rather than being part of a structure. But maybe if there's more books to come, I might feel differently. I don't know that I do. That being said, I did enjoy reading it. I didn't have a bad reading experience. It's just that sense of book one could have ended and I would have felt fine about it. It also took me a little while to get through. I think it's probably worth mentioning my most recent reread of the first book was by audiobook, and I did this one physically. It is quite long. It's about 600 pages in paperback, I think, maybe 560, and it took a while to get through. It just did. It was a little bit of a slog at times, a little bit of a push through and get to the next exciting moment. But that happens with me fairly often with fantasy books, so I'm not going to hold it against it too much. Just be aware if you're going in. It might take you a little while. I would recommend potentially an ebook or a larger print version than my version if you are like me and your eyes get tired very quickly, but that's just me nitpicking. Just that the cursed sword remains very cool. I think it's just cool. It's great. In terms of comparisons, in terms of other things you might want to read, I probably brought them all up in my first video, which I'll be honest, I did not rewatch to make this video, and I probably should have done. Kings of the World and Bloody Rose are by Nicholas Eames. I don't always love Nicholas Eames' writing. I think they have some flaws with them. I've got a video up on the channel, you can check that out, but I do think they do similar things, playing with the idea of a kind of classic adventuring party. That's in there. Only other books I've read that I really felt did the same thing are Gareth Hanrahan's other series. I think he's one of those people you can just tell is a tabletop designer because the worlds he builds are so clearly equipped for you as a person to take up a character within them, and I think that's one of the reasons they're very cool. So maybe also Robert Jackson Bennett for his world building, which feels very similar to me in the way that he structures magic systems and the kinds of people who exist in a world. Perhaps something like the... Oh, come on, brain. Get to it. Get to the Foundry side. Founders trilogy. And I guess if we're also on games that sprung out of tabletops, then we have to mention Rook and Rose by M.A. Carrick, which is very different in tone. It's much more Venetian and masks and high society, whereas this is more slogging it out in the trenches with your fellow man. However, I think it's worth mentioning we are in a good age, not necessarily a golden age, because who's to say what's to come, but a good age of authors playing tabletop games and then writing books, and I appreciate that. Right, well, thank you to the probably 4 people who stuck around again for this very niche video. I appreciate you. And I would have had to make it eventually because of the whole reviewing every book on my shelves thing, so why not now? Have you read either The Sword Defiant or The Sword Unbound? Are you planning on reading it? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're down there commenting, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also come hang out on Discord, where we have chill chats about books. I'd like to say an enormous thank you to all the ghosts who haunt me over on Patreon. They support the channel and in return get early access to videos, bonus content, live streams, and more. If you'd like to join their number, that's linked below as well. Thank you so much to you for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one.